Before COVID reached Oregon, DoveLewis was growing and planning for an exciting future. While veterinary medicine is always challenging and ever-changing, we are typically able to look ahead and plan for our community's needs.
Before COVID, I thought my job at DoveLewis was incredibly busy and challenging, but I wasn't really prepared for how much busier it could get.
And then the pandemic hit.
There are 191 cases in Oregon.
All large gatherings in the state of Oregon will be canceled for 4 weeks.
No one could have prepared for COVID. While DoveLewis is an expert in emergency and specialty care, this was a situation that required our leadership and staff to leap into action in new and unfamiliar ways. At first, we were unsure how the pandemic would impact the need for our services. But the need for emergency and specialty veterinary services skyrocketed.
When I walked in one day at 6 a.m., instead of normally having a few patients waiting to be seen, I had 12. That was when I realized that things had definitely changed.
In the Pacific Northwest, pets were adopted at an unprecedented rate, and pet ownership soared overall. People staying home all day noticed ailments more quickly, but found that some local emergency hospitals had reduced their hours or closed. General practices also could not see as many patients due to new COVID protocols.
Before, we had the ability to have a human connection by talking to clients in person, and since COVID, we have to be even more present for owners. We need to connect with them just with our voice to understand that we are trying to help them.
DoveLewis is the only Level 1 certified veterinary emergency and critical care facility in the state of Oregon. We treated even more critically ill patients that required extended stays in the intensive care unit. In all, DoveLewis treated more than 30,000 patients this past year, an increase of more than 20% than the year before.
One night we were so incredibly busy and we ran out of fluid pumps. So most of the patients in the ICU are on IV fluids. We were able to call around and get some support from other clinics, but that was something that we had never even come close ever to running out of fluid pumps.
There are so many unknowns. Every day was different. Basically a moving target of trying to keep DoveLewis open and us safe at the same time while providing the care to our pets and our patients. It was scary.
At DoveLewis, we are committed to being here for our community, staying open throughout the pandemic, wildfires, and ice storms. In the most trying of circumstances, the staff adapted and innovated to accommodate the growing number of pets and families that needed support.
I have a young son at home and I had to think about the job I do and how it can impact my family, but I also took an oath to be a caregiver. I feel really grateful that I live in a city that was willing to call me an essential worker.
We continue to need support because we have become so irredeemably essential.
Then you stepped in. While DoveLewis fell short of its fundraising goals last year due to event cancellations and the uncertain economy, so many of you helped in a variety of ways. You sent in donations, sewed masks, and wrote DoveLewis letters and thank you notes, cheering on the team. You understood how important it was to have an emergency and specialty veterinary hospital open, even during a pandemic.
Back in March, we weren't quite sure what the impact would be. Donor support is how we are able to manage and run our wonderful community programs. The donations didn't stop. The clients kept coming. They trusted us with the care of their animals.
Your donations help pets receive care from our financial assistance program at a time when the economy is so uncertain. And your continued investment puts the best equipment in the hands of our staff so that every pet receives the very best care.
I came to work one day and there was a sign saying people were grateful for essential workers, and there were flowers, and it meant so much to feel valued in the work that we do.
DoveLewis remains so grateful for your steadfast support. With your encouragement and generosity, the hospital weathered its most challenging year ever, continued to innovate, and never closed once.
We have a staff that has accomplished and gotten through this incredibly hard thing together that I know that we can be resilient and get through other things as well.
It is not possible for DoveLewis to provide its essential services to the community without you.